Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod into which we will challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And you know what? To make sure that we don't turn into stuffy, negative, wannabe nastiness podcast, we are making this a drinking game, people.
Oh, yeah.
So anytime we say anything negative about this film, and believe it or not, there might be some negative things to say about this film. But if we say any of those negative things, you're going to hear this sound. And that means that we have to take a drink.
What are we drinking?
So pour yourself a glass and get ready to paint the fence.
That's right. This is our second record of the evening. We just did an episode on Shang-Chi. To be completely upfront, we did not mean to put The Karate Kid and Shang-Chi on the same night. We are not making any comparisons between the two. I accidentally watched The Karate Kid last week thinking it was supposed to be this week's episode. So we are doing it in part of our should have seen that by now segment. Because I haven't seen it by now.
Yeah, I love that we're doing a should have seen it by now in a movie you watched last week.
That's right. I should have seen it last week. Should have seen it before last week.
You should not have seen it last week.
I should not have seen it last week. We'll talk more about that segment and why I haven't seen it up until this point in a second. But again, really quick, we also want to remind everybody who, or maybe if you didn't hear our most recent episode, we are recording this Labor Day weekend, 2021, which I'm in New York. Dave Green right here just moved from one apartment in New York to another. John's in California. Here he's in Los Angeles. Dave and I had a hurricane hit, Hurricane Ida, which sort of messed up Dave's move. Yeah. His internet literally got installed today because it got canceled the first time it was supposed to be installed. So if anything happens to our audio today, we're so sorry. This is an abnormality, but we are happy to be doing the show. Dave, anything else you want to say about that?
No. I have a little bit of an echo because I'm sitting in an empty room because there's no furniture here either because obviously the move got stuffed up. But yeah.
What are you sitting on?
It's a very colorful cushion.
Yeah. Dave's on a meditation cushion here, ready to get grounded.
It was either that or the hemorrhoid ring.
I'm going to call somebody. One of us is who's touching their mic a lot. Somebody's making tons of extra noise.
I feel like Jeff's moving his legs.
It's got to be me.
Stop fucking touching stuff, dude. This is fixable. Don't scapegoat touching your fucking microphone to the hurricane. Right.
Off to a good start here with our Karate Kid episode. Yeah. John, before we get into it, why don't you shout our people out?
Shout outs. We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barrozo. His handle on Instagram is CBarrozoBar 2019. That is CBarrozoBar 2019 if you want to give him a follow. And we have an artist named Dasein, a composer, the one and only, who provides all of our music. If you love it, please head on over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist and you can download all of this music for free. Okay. Like us, love us, share us. All the fucking things. We're at The Love of Cinema Pod on all the platforms except for Twitter. We're just at The Love of Cinema there. Please come at us. Give us some suggestions. Talk to us about the episodes. We want to hear your thoughts. We might not agree with you. We might tell you to go fuck yourself with a nice buzz so you can drink with us. Or we're going to have you on the show so you can have some fun and see if you can live up to the challenge of not getting wasted while we dissect infamously bad movies, which we love doing.
You want to know the one movie we've got the most responses to on the YouTube version of our show? Parasite.
What?
For some reason, everybody loves Parasite.
Everybody loves Parasite.
Well, I mean, we love Parasite.
It's fun to engage with, right?
We loved it. Dave just decided not to see it, even though everybody was telling him to.
I even lied in conversations for a year.
Yeah.
And that was a new movie. Parasite. I think none of us had done that.
No, we did it in the show. No, we did it because Dave
should have seen it.
Oh yeah, Dave had never seen it. Well, look at that serendipity, because today we are doing another should have seen it by now. And I always like to give whoever the fuck is who has not seen it until now. We want to kind of give you a little chance to explain yourself, Jeff. Why have you? How did you avoid? And why did you avoid seeing such an iconic movie for this long?
Well, this is why we have this segment as opposed to like a rewatchables segment or whatever it is. Even though we're going to be talking about the movie, you should have seen this by now. What is a recurring theme here is one of two things. Number one is it's like a movie that you know is good. And so, like, it's always on the list, but it's never the one for tonight because you hear too many good things about it, and you need the setup or whatever to be good, like a Citizen Kane. I know Citizen Kane's supposed to be good, but I didn't seek it out because there haven't been a lot of nights where I'm like, tonight's the night, you know? Then there's the other side, which is the movies that either we sort of think we saw when we were younger, or we had seen clips of and we had heard about so much that we had seen enough of it that whenever it was time for that movie, like whenever it was time to watch a movie, we didn't pick it because we were like, well, I already know what the Karate Kid's about. And that's the category that I fell into. I, of course, have seen the tournament scene because I had basic cable when I was younger and I flipped it on and it was on, but I'd never seen the whole thing all the way through. And I think I knew Wax On, Wax Off, Daniel-san. I knew all like the things the famous things that I just didn't think there was a reason to sit down and actually like watch the movie. That's
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
If people asked me if I'd seen it, I just said yes. I just said, yeah, I've seen it. It's great. That tournament at the end is amazing.
Well, let's fucking set it up, man. This is the Karate Kid.
1984.
1984.
Director
You know
John.
what? If you want to pause this really quickly and
What?
go back to last week's episode on Sweet Girl, you can hear Jeff have an enormous amount of excitement in his voice where he thinks he's setting up the movie we're going to talk about. He's wrong. It's not Karate Kid, but the vigor in your voice for that setup.
Oh my God.
I can't stop thinking about it.
All right.
You were so pumped. So try to recreate it.
I was so happy. I was so happy to do this movie. And then last week you were like, guys, we watched Sweet Girl. And I was like, fuck. I was just coming off a vacation, people. It happens. Okay. Director John G. Avildsen, who directed Rocky. This is an Academy Award. Not only is he an Academy Award winning director, he beat at the Oscars Martin Scorsese for Taxi Driver and fucking Network, Sidney Lumet. Like, he beat these people for Oscars for Rocky, and the director of Karate Kid. This is him doing his victory lap. He had already done another. Anyway, he ended up doing Rocky 5 and his career was over. But John G. Avildsen. Fuck. We also didn't save the tiger.
Are you buzzing Rocky 5 or are you buzzing?
Both.
Kind of him for that, if you let that happen. Okay, that's on you, Dave. It was written by Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote Taps and Split Image before this. Taps, yes, the Tom Cruise movie. And then he ended up eventually doing other movies, including the other Karate Kid movies, and saying, I need a change. So with Luc Besson coming off Léon the Professional, he decided to write The Fifth Element and Taken.
Oh, yeah.
So this writer is we were talking about awesome people, and the score of this movie is by Bill Conti, who wrote the score to Rocky, and he actually won an Oscar for The Right Stuff, which is a astronaut movie. So we have Oscar winners, we have prestige, we have clout in this low-budget 1984 movie about Daniel-san.
With a completely unknown actor. Basically, yeah.
Daniel-san. And he moves from Newark to Ventura, California, just north of Los Angeles, where John is right now, a little bit north of the valley. Ventura, California, because his mom has a job, which eventually is going to be in computers or something, but I think she's a pizza delivery driver at first. So weird to move across the country for that.
There's actually, we'll talk about that. There's actually a deleted scene that clears that up.
Okay, good.
Oh my God.
I knew that. I've been hearing the whispers about this movie. Okay, so anyway, they moved to Ventura, California,
that's so
and
good.
he's getting bullied by a bunch of dickheads, and then so then he just so happens that I guess the superintendent / handyman / just guy that works at the apartment complex that he's living in Ventura is Pat Morita, who you all know, and he happens to be a karate master. Decides to help train Daniel for a huge tournament where he's going to eventually face off with the main bully, Johnny, who is currently the lead in Cobra Kai on YouTube TV. We know the story. That's it. Goes from Newark to Ventura, California. Pat Morita was nominated for an Oscar for acting in this.
Yes, he was.
It's really fucking funny. It's awesome that he was, but it's also really fucking funny that he was. And you know the crane kick at the end. We know all the images.
Let's
a lot of people say this is the Rocky for like of kids movies, because there's obviously the target demo is younger people.
Also, you don't need the subtitles for this one.
You do not need this. Okay, so a lot of people say this is the Rocky of kids movies, low budget sports movie. Makes sense. I think this was the mean streets of kids' movies. That's what I think.
Oh my god! Oh wow!
We'll
Turn that
unpack
gush
this.
alarm on, dude.
We'll unpack this. We'll
The
unpack this in
mean
a
streets.
second. Yeah.
I'm happy to say that we found out.
Wait,
that
we'll get the
Jeff-
gush. We'll get
we
the
found
gush
out
alarm.
that
We'll get
Jeff,
the gush alarm.
yeah, we found out that Jeff hadn't watched this just in time to stop him from watching Cobra Kai.
Right. And since we all know who Ralph Macchio is, because he's the guy who could never get work after The Karate Kid, except for My Cousin Vinny, which is one of my favorite movies.
That is a really good movie.
I want you guys to do me a favor here. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture a 23-year-old John Hamm. John Hamm, brooding masculinity, right? Probably got a huge, personality. I don't know, there's a lot of rumors. John Hamm at 23. Guys, Ralph Macchio was 23 when this movie came out.
Why would you make me close my eyes and picture that?
Ralph Macchio was 22 when he filmed this movie.
Yes.
It's all I see when I close my eyes anytime. So
He was 22 when this movie was filmed. He looks no older than 14.
Yeah.
He's so skinny. Also, Elisabeth Shue is going to be the love interest here in those classic 80s. We don't know how to write girls. Kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But having said that, Elisabeth Shue is the only person who had a career after this movie, so that's pretty great. Although, I'm sure everybody else got their money and did their things. But
Both Pat and Ralph had Karate Kid 2, Karate Kid 3, and next Karate Kid.
Pat was in the next Karate Kid. I don't know if Ralph Macchio was.
No, he wasn't. That was Hilary Swank.
That was correct. Fucking man, this movie. I don't even know where to start. What do you guys do? You want to do initial takeaways for? Do you all rewatch this, right? Because
I did rewatch it. Yes, but I've seen it like 50 times.
You didn't have internet.
No, after I got my internet connected this afternoon, I watched it.
You watched it today? Oh shit, this is fresh. John, when did you watch this?
I did not rewatch it. I was busy as fuck. But I too was an asshole who had not seen this until at some point 2 years ago. So I feel like it's still fresh enough in my mind. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
sure.
Go.
All right, so same deal. I was basically in the same shoes as you. I'd heard a lot of people talking about it. My brother, I think, had recently kind of gone through and done a catch up of a lot of pop culture that he just didn't take in when we were growing up,
That's always
things like
fun.
this, And he said, "Oh, so it was good, man. You really should watch it." I was like, "All right, let me see what all the fuss is about." And it was good. It lives up to it. I think I kind of miss this take on storytelling that doesn't seem to happen as much nowadays, where I don't think low budget is the only way to describe it, but it's a very, very simple, grounded story. It's very small. There's not a lot of sets.
No gimmick.
It's mostly acting. Yeah, there's a few great montages in that scene at the end, but it's not an action movie. It's not a martial arts film in the sense of big fight scenes.
It's
not at all, right? It's a coming of age story, which I'm a sucker for.
It's a coming of age story for your feet.
For your feet. I mean, it's hard. This is what I'll say about Karate Kid. It's hard to imagine a life. It's hard to imagine my life growing up in America without this movie being such an integral piece of the zeitgeist. Like you said, I had not seen it and I still knew it.
Yeah.
I still knew the quotes, wax on, wax off. I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan. They do, they quote this movie and mock this movie all the time. The crane pose on the beach. There are so many things. You do really feel like this movie already lives in us without even having seen it. But having seen it, I do think it lives up to it. It doesn't try to be anything more than what it is. It is a very simple story, coming of age, teaching this kid how to find himself through martial arts. That's all it is, and it's fun. It's cathartic. It pumps you up. Unlike Rocky, he fucking wins in the end. So you get to actually have some fun catharsis. And who doesn't like it when bullies get to go fuck themselves because somebody rises above them?
These bullies were the Droogs from fucking Clockwork Orange, man. These bullies were so
they were pretty up there.
If this movie took place now, they'd just be arrested. His kids would just be.
They'd all be arrested.
Push him off a bike down a hill. I mean, that's assault. That is.
Nah.
Yeah, the kids who think they're getting bullied. Yeah, exactly. The kids who think they're getting bullied today. Fucking nerf.
Look, mental health is real. Mental health is real, and cyberbullying is totally fucked up right now.
The 80s, you give a shove.
Thrown down a hill on a bike.
No, the 80s, you give a shove and you run on the bottom. Did you see you falling off that fucking hill?
Yeah, this movie.
Honestly,
John, you're 100% right. There's a huge karate boom in this country after this movie, especially for kids that weren't good at other sports. and probably all the way around the world. We all know what a sensei is because of this movie. But at the same time, there's also strike first, strike hard, no mercy is the quote of the Cobra Kai Institute.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people took that away.
A lot of people took that one away. A lot of people took away mercy is for the weak, which I'm pretty sure became the Nike slogan, pain is weakness leaving the body, which I'm pretty sure is not what you're supposed to do. Also, if you maybe just tore your ACL or broke your ankle, don't go back into the fucking
That's
fight.
what
It's not
cortisone
worth
is
it. Yeah, this
No,
led into
dude, no, that's fine. When you're from New
Varsity
Jersey, the
Blues.
fight is never over.
the fight is never over. Also, did Pat Morita give Danielson peyote when he was injured? Because that tea really did the fucking trick.
Honestly, dude. Yeah, I was like, what is that what happens?
All of a sudden, he gave him some
Was
tea,
there
and then
something
the
in
next
that
day
tea?
he comes up and he's like, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Miyagi?" There's so many fun things. Dave, what was your takeaway from the rewatch?
Oh, my takeaway from the rewatch, I still get chills in at least one scene in this, and it's always
it
fun to
today?
watch. No, it's my favorite scene in the film. It's when they've gone through the whole kung fu procedure, where he's had him do like all the fucking chores around his house, and he finally loses his shit and cracks it at him, and he's like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing it anymore." And he's like, "Wait a minute, just watch this." And it suddenly becomes apparent that the whole thing was him teaching him the karate moves that he needed to know, and like the discipline behind it. And you already get a sense that this guy's like disciplined and will just stick with it no matter what, but until he's like pushed right to the edge. But like that, it's a really good scene for me.
Dave, did you know
Yeah.
that if you want to be a good self-defense martial arts fighter, all you need to do is really do a contracting job over the summer? You just have to make sure that it's with the right company.
Yes, you do.
And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you can fight. But at the same time, you know what? I'm with you, because the reason that this movie is so good, even though there were, if you really wanted to shit on the martial arts, you can go ahead. If you really want to shit on the fact that Daniel didn't really train on tournament fighting and wins a tournament, go ahead. If you want to go ahead and say that the crane kick is defensible, although there is justification for that.
We're
They
going to come to
actually
that.
justified
We'll
that
come to
pretty
that.
well.
We'll
We're gonna
come to that. And they have not.
We're going to come to that.
But
But having said that, it's so shameless. And what's the most shameless about this is not that they're yada yadaing the film things to do some fun 80s shit. And what's shameless about this is not just fuck the bullies. The bullies deserve this.
No.
What's shameless about this is exactly what you're saying, which is there is that deeper meaning, which if you're a kid and you're watching this
And-
movie, you don't have to like let that affect you the same. Dave, not
Every-
everybody has to
also-
be teary like you when you watch that
yeah,
scene.
but also
But
every
the fact that it's just like, this is, you are learning it all. You just have to
Yeah.
harness it. It's in there.
But every character
cool.
as well is a very well crafted, defined character. Like his mother from the beginning, she has this like indomitable spirit. She's peppy. She's up. She's like, we're going to California. It's going to fix everything. And she's so like positive, and he's so negative and down. And
Well, he doesn't want to be negative and down though.
but
I
he, no,
think
he's.
that
I mean,
they do
he
a good
doesn't
job
want,
with that journey.
he doesn't want to go there like in the first place. But also like he has reasons for hating the place. But then you've got like Pat Morita, who just edges his way into the film and then suddenly creates one of the most fucking iconic characters of the 80s.
I mean,
And
this is one of those times where the Oscars gets it right, because
yeah,
was the
Oh,
performance, was it Duvall? I don't know, but it's so one of a kind and so timeless.
well,
and
I mean,
seamless.
he was only nominated. He didn't win,
Well, only has one, but anyway.
so it didn't get it right.
Oh my God, that
I think
mom,
it's
though,
also
is-
really
yeah.
special. It's also really special because I was just talking about like platonic love stories
Yeah, that's what it is.
today and yesterday, and I think the best coming of age stories, platonic love stories are not limited to this, but even in coming of age stories, I think sometimes you think of them from a distance as a young person finding themselves. But I think what good coming of age stories prove is that you only find yourself in context and relativity with other people. It's through your relationships. So it's not just that he's the sensei, like the title of the mentor kind of character. They needed each other, just like in the very best way that so many good platonic love stories do. So I feel like that's why it's also so refreshing. It's not just that Danielson figures out that he has this inner strength and he needed someone to unlock it. It's that he was totally alone until he had, Pat
Yeah,
come into his life. And I don't know, I guess you could make the argument that Pat was too. But I think
he
that's why
absolutely
it's
was. Like
emotional. You're not just rooting for
his
Danielson.
journey is awesome. He goes from like basically being a janitor to having a kick-ass yard.
It's so many cars. Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Although the only character that Ralph Macchio doesn't seem to need anymore is that friend at the beginning. He was basically like, "Thanks for showing me Elisabeth Shue."
Well,
Which, by the way, why is Elisabeth Shue dating this guy? Why is he liking this kid? He looks 12. He can't juggle a soccer ball, and why is he so bad?
He's
at
from the
juggling
wrong
soccer
side of the tracks, dude. It's a story as
God.
old as time. It's from the wrong side of the tracks.
ball? Yeah, of course they're in the
Yeah.
country club. That country
Yeah,
club scene
it's a
where,
class thing.
where Daniel he's in the kitchen for some reason, and then he bumps into somebody and they spill like the shit all over him. And,
Yep.
and the entire country club, full grown men and women, are just laughing hysterically at Daniel's. It's like
Yeah,
it's like the
that's-
Stand By Me like dream sequence.
I've had
It's-
nightmares like that. Yeah, it's it's not good.
Yeah, everybody's had nightmares like that. Oh my gosh! And we also have a shout out to a good cameo performance of the grandma from Happy Gilmore. The grandma from Happy
Oh,
Gilmore
yeah,
is the
yeah,
neighbor and says, "This is when I said the mean streets. What I mean by it is this: they're off script. I swear, or either that or this writing is brilliant. Because there are some times where Ralph Macchio is doing like full on like De Niro off camera kind of things, where the grandma they're talking about I got an uncle. Oh my god, what's his name? Of course, it's an Italian name. I got an Uncle
Yeah.
Louis from Parsippany. I got Uncle Louis from Parsippany. It's like, you got Uncle Louis? Yeah, I got Uncle Louis. It's like, yeah, I never heard of him. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I never heard of him. Yeah.
They're
And
not
then there's
that they're
another
not
one.
that far off script actually, because like the subtitles back in that day were taken straight from the screenplay and transcribed, and there are differences if you leave the subtitles on. But yeah, there's not
I'm
a lot. Like
glad-
they embellish a lot of the lines, but they don't. There's not a lot of improv there.
I'm just glad they gave Macchio some rope, because I'm from Jersey and I grew up in New Jersey, and this is that is exactly how people talk. I didn't realize that Brooklyn and Bronx had different accents, because I heard this and I was like, this is everybody wanted to have an Italian accent growing up for me. I'm sure my friends would roll their eyes if they heard that, but I feel like there were so many people I grew up with that had accents like this, and I was like, wait, we're from the same place. Why? And there's just this weird Italian influence in that north central Jersey area. But when he sits there and he stands there in the hallway and he asks Elisabeth Shue, I want to say, he's like, "Are you still with Johnny?" She's like, "No, we broke up weeks ago." He goes, "Weeks?" She's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Weeks? 1 week? 5 weeks? How many weeks is weeks?"
Context
And the way
is
he says-
important.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, how many weeks is weeks? And the way he says it, like, kind of offhand, it's like, so many of these kinds of movies have those scripts that are just like churned out of a fucking oven, where everything is so meticulous, and it's like sometimes you just gotta let people talk like that, and then it's so realistic. I'm gushing. But seriously,
No, go on.
seriously,
Yeah.
Don't you feel?
No,
like,
you're right. You're
don't
not
you
wrong.
feel
The
the
that-
way Ralph Macchio is talking in this movie is so relatable
Yes.
and yet so
Don't you feel
unique
that
and
that is
specific
a-
at the same time.
Everyone
Really-
in this movie is so relatable.
yeah.
But don't you feel that? I know there are examples that don't follow this thread, but people who grew up influenced by the way movies were directed and actors learned how to act from the 70s and into the 80s, for sure, that everything came out of character. Everything was influenced by
Yeah.
a heightened realism, or a well, whatever would be the inverse of that, something that kind of goes below the surface of realism. It's not totally naturalistic, but it's kind of grittier than that. I think everyone was so influenced by that was what was considered good, that even in a coming of age story featuring a 22-year-old who was supposed to be believably as a teenager, so a teenager, even they were still realizing like this isn't going to really work for what we consider to be good nowadays if we don't ground it. Because I think there's a very similar tone in Rocky, right? I
Yeah,
think that
definitely.
John G. Avildsen was going for that. I miss that. I'm just going to go out and say that. I think Stand By Me feels that way. I think a lot of those good movies from the 80s, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with children or if you're dealing with De Niro level, caliber of actors. Everything is so character driven that they allowed movies to be directed differently. It created a different style of direction and the way you put stuff together. Now everything, those lines, Jeff, I'm not disagreeing that the script is great, but I still think that in a different time and place, maybe today, they would have sounded a little bit more like movie writing, just because they weren't trying to create that tone. Nothing feels like that anymore. Even our really gritty television shows have this kind of polished element to them. And I don't know, I'm not saying it's always bad or it's always good. It's just different. It just doesn't feel the same way. And I think that's one reason why movies like this seem to pop, in contradiction to like the stuff we're seeing nowadays.
I want to take
Stranger
a minute.
Things.
Oh, okay.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
fair.
Stranger
Things
Things.
season
I
one.
love Stranger
Season
Things.
one.
I love season. I did too, and I
They're all
really
great, but
enjoyed it.
season
And
one especially.
all the nostalgia was there, and those kids were really excellent actors. But I think there was I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I think if they had made Stranger Things, I hear what I'm saying. If they had made it in the 80s, which I know is when it was set, so it wouldn't have had the nostalgia. But just for the point of my
they did. It was called Monster
I think
Squad.
they would have. Well, they had and Goonies and things like that, right? There would have been a little bit more breadth around the characters, around the cutting, around the performances. It wouldn't have felt. I don't know. I think it's just the pacing thing. We just want everything so tight and so polished now that sometimes people don't sound like, oh, that's exactly how they talk because they're in the TV show and we got to fucking move forward. We got to get it done. I don't know. Sometimes I do feel that way. And I think this is a good example of why that stuff was so successful and will probably be timeless. It just feels more realistic.
When they do that, that's the difference between your popcorn flick and the thing that you take away. Remember, like, that's why this is an icon.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think so.
Because they do still do it in certain like elements of entertainment, but it is rare. But when it's done and it's done well, that thing is fucking iconic. Like, you remember it.
They do the tropes really well too, because clearly Elisabeth Shue's two friends are just like a stereotypical like two girls' best friends that don't have much to say. I think they said at one point like, what does she see in him? Which is one of those where the studio just has to. They're like, please have a line in there of like what she sees in him, like please. And so like one of the friends goes, seriously, this is one of the least realistic relationships of all time. But you're rooting for him so hard, you're like, anything is possible. You could be president someday. Come on, let's go, dude. The girls are like, what does she see in him? And the other one's like, I don't know. She must be attracted to fungus. And it's like, there's no way girls talk like that. But they just nailed this time and place. Same thing with the Droogs. There's the soccer practice where they realized that
someone
Daniel
who was in high school in the 80s, yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, okay, fine, fair enough. David, fine. You win on that one.
I think, yeah.
But the Droogs, right? The Johnny is the villain who's still the villain in Cobra Kai. Johnny.
Poor bastard
his
gets
friends
people.
Are like his friends are having huddles about how to like trip Daniel's son. They're like they're like sending each other signals across the field and stuff. And it's like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
That poor guy is
John
still getting
Hughes
people trying to fight him on the street.
Yeah. John Hughes had a field day. John Hughes watched this movie and he went, I know exactly how to do my next villains.
I'm saying, I think John Hughes like exploited the fact that people did actually talk like that back then.
The Breakfast Club. Here, how about this? The Breakfast Club fills out because Emilio Estevez is this jock. He is the jock of these Droogs in this movie. Now, of course, in this movie, it's really weird that the coolest kids are just like the karate kids. Like at no point in ever was it like the cool kids in high school.
They also had motorbikes. They also had
motorbikes too. And all of their dialogue had to do with biking. They're like, why don't you take a right and get out of here? And it's like, okay, yeah, you like motorcycles. But John Hughes is like,
we're sitting right in the
these
cool
people have
rider
souls. They're
area.
not weirdos. Anyway, this fucking movie. Oh
I
my
know,
god.
it's so much fun, dude. I feel like all these movies kind of exist in that same universe. And I guess I kind of missed that. That was the 80s was like, that was the decade of the coming of age teenage movies. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It was it.
I mean,
I kept thinking they were going to make a wrong turn at some point in this movie and they were going to run into the Lost Boys. And then they were going to run into the Goonies. And they were going to, like, everybody lived in, like, the same area. Like, I don't know. It just all felt like such a similar thing.
I would like take a minute just to talk about Pat Morita as Miyagi because like
do it.
Of all the dramatic actors they tried because they tested a lot of actors before him.
He's American, by the way. Pat Morita, for everybody that doesn't know, he's a fully American. So this whole character was.
I'm so glad they settled on him because there's just a genuine humor in the bad jokes he makes because he was a comedian as well, and but there's also a great pride and dignity in the master that's in there. So he manages to pull off both. Like when he's powerful, he's powerful. Like he's facing down a guy who stands literally a foot higher than him, and he's just sitting there, straight up eye contact. But he's also making these horrendous fucking dad jokes at Daniel as well, and tipping him off boats and doing all this fun stuff. I feel like it was the perfect choice of the character, and I don't think anyone else could have played that. And there's a long list of people that they.
What does he say when he shakes him off the boat? He's laughing hysterically, and he says something as he shakes Daniel off the boat. It's right after he says "Who needs to focus on punching? Balance is everything."
He says something about you wet behind the ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he shakes the boat and starts laughing so hard.
Yeah, it is good. He has that essential. I think it's essential anyway for this kind of character. That blend of power and endearing quality, so that you can go on board with Danielson when he realizes at some point you got to stop. If you want to do anything seriously and you want to take yourself seriously, you got to stop kind of making jokes. And I don't know. I think he captures that so well because it is kind of lame in a sense, right? There is like kind of a lameness to, and it's fun watching Danielson realize that like I have to be able to take this seriously if I'm going to get what he's actually teaching.
And
I don't know.
I mean,
you know what's not lame though is
definitely
Pat
Star
Morita, Mr. Miyagi giving him a car for his birthday. That's a pretty goddamn good birthday present. He just gives him a car.
I mean, he's all he
you think that
has.
car
Like
was
he has
hot?
no one else. So
he totally just like
he just
I don't
ripped it
remember
off.
this guy's name.
Just goes out and
he
beats
just-
up people and carjacks them, Grand Theft Auto style.
honestly, yeah.
Mr.
What does
Mr.
he do at
Miyagi-
night?
Mr. Miyagi is a lot better at turning cars over than he is at, I don't know, fixing the pool or just doing odd jobs around the apartment.
Yeah, he doesn't
complex.
seem like the most effective
He's
super.
the janitor
He's
for
bad
the
at his
first,
job, but really
he's the
good at a lot of other
He's the
things.
janitor for the first 10 minutes of this film, and then he just never goes back or fixes anything after that. He's always at the other
Why is-
house. It's like, did you just quit your job? Like, what happened?
There's so many things he's good at. He fixes a bike overnight.
You guys-
he
Yes.
refurbishes
you guys-
cars, but he's a terrible handyman. Why is he working as a
this
handyman?
I think this is opening a door to a conversation that has to be had. We talked about Shang-Chi earlier in this week, and in that movie, him and Awkwafina are fucking valet drivers. Are all martial arts students destined to grow up and have useless blue-collar work jobs, and then just
I mean,
on the inside
Shang-
they're
I mean,
amazing martial arts masters?
Shang-Chi was hiding, so I don't think Miyagi was hiding. He was just I think he was just bored. But all right,
Miyagi's the best.
happened.
I think one thing
gonna-
that aged. We're
Go.
talking at the same time. I think one thing that aged. One thing that we didn't understand that aged really well is Mr. Miyagi like meditating in front of his wife's like tomb, and I
Yes.
loved. So he's like, so Daniel walks in and he sees Miyagi there. And he's just
Shrine.
trying to shit. Sorry, fuck. Dave, where's that? Dave, you're being too kind to us this episode. On your,
I need to hit the buzzer when you've hung yourself, but
Her dead
Yeah.
skeleton.
That's right. Sorry.
Fucking apartment.
On the shrine, he's
That's
like
for
meditating.
John.
Daniel walks. Fuck. And Daniel walks in, and he's like, Mr. Miyagi, and he's right there, and he's like, oh, okay. And I was like taking the time. That's something that aged, I think, really, really, really well.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, there's the
Again,
way
that
that the backstory
seriousness thing.
unfolded. Even though that's such a thing from theater, where the monologue that explains your backstory. We talked about this with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom this past.
Ma
Where every
Rainey,
character,
yeah.
every character had a monologue that was their backstory. But his backstory, he's from Okinawa, which was I think now it's a part of Japan, but at the time it wasn't.
It sort of was. It's a southern, like an island off the coast.
Yeah,
off
but I
the
think
south-
during
south.
World War II it wasn't, because he fought for the Americans.
Well, they consider themselves separate. Yes.
So he actually fought on behalf of the Americans, and he essentially is saying like some American dream, like look at me now, like I fought for the Americans, and then I
think he fought for the Americans because they put him in a fucking intern camp. To be honest, like,
Yeah. I don't think he had a
Yeah.
choice.
the character.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then his wife
That's what I
passes
thought.
away, and so essentially he doesn't have a family. So Daniel becomes his family. So there's that. It becomes this rich thing, but they do such a good job of. They don't introduce that until after he's already beat the shit out of those other kids. So if you look at this from the point of view of it,
just saying, those kids fucking had it coming. But yeah,
right? So if you think about this in terms of The Sandlot, which will come 8 years later, and I'm sure was greatly inspired. This was the 80s is where the franchises took off. They're like, oh yeah, Star Wars: The Godfather. You could just make a million of these, just keep making money.
one of those
The
worked.
Sandlot comes up, and so you have James Earl Jones, who explains to the kids about the Negro Leagues and about the history of the game that they didn't know outside of Babe Ruth and some of the other big Yankees and stuff. And in this, it was like, he was able to, by beating the shit out of the kids, you're obsessed with this guy now, and you're like, I want to figure out why is he so good at karate, and it's like he doesn't necessarily want to be good at karate. He had to be good at. It's more than just being able to fight. There's like a bigger journey that he's on, and the way that they unravel that in this movie is really well done. It's
All right,
really
I'm
well
gonna.
done.
I
I'm
think
telling you, it's because it's not.
Sorry, Dave.
I just don't
Dave,
think
you can
it's-
talk
it's-
later, okay?
Okay, sure.
No, get in here, dude. I'm gonna
No,
take a self buzz.
finish-
I'm gonna shut the fuck
No,
up.
finish
what you're saying.
your thought, because I'm going to take us in a different direction after this,
Okay.
because
It
we
was-
need to discuss the controversy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically just that I don't think any of that could have been achieved without the relationships. It's just so obviously, you think from a distance, everything nowadays, I think they're afraid to make movies like this nowadays. If we don't have 4 action sequences in a movie called Karate Kid, no one's going to come see it. That's not why this movie's so good. It's not.
There is
it's the
there is
emotional scene
like.
work.
Have you seen the remake of this movie?
Bad.
Didn't work as well.
No, the one
Did
with
not work as well.
Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith, yeah. I tried watching it. It was just it was him showing off how much he could stretch, and everything else was tough.
I did feel like it was a lot of stretchy shots in the look at that stretch in the trailer. I remember thinking like, wow, he's really flexible. Is that what this movie's about? Dave, hit it.
All right. We couldn't talk about the Karate Kid unless we talk about the biggest argument that this movie inspired. Did Daniel cheat? That crane move is technically illegal. He kicked him in the fucking face.
In the face, dude. Like really hard.
Yeah.
Like that.
Because I thought he was supposed to kick him in the chest, and they were like, "No, fuck it."
Literally, someone was just disqualified for excessive and deliberate contact, and then he pulls this like fucking move and kicks him in the face. And they're like, "Yeah, point winner." He should have lost.
I've heard two takes on this.
It's funny because like the guy who plays Johnny in this has actually done a sketch and a couple of other things where he, and even like when you finally watch Cobra Kai, it kicks off with him saying he should have lost.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched Broadchurch, and all of season 2 was essentially explaining how all of season 1 was poor police work. It's hard to explain if you haven't seen Broadchurch, but what I would say to that is there's two explanations. Number one,
would you recommend Broadchurch while we're here?
Yeah, season 1.
Okay, great.
Season 1.
Cool.
And I actually really like, if you love season 1, watch
good.
season 2.
Okay, cool.
But a lot of it is rehashing.
All right, now back to the fact that Daniel cheated.
Now back to the fact that Daniel cheated. There's two things. Number one is that the refs were so surprised by it that they were like, fuck it, we hate Cobra Kai too. And that was so surprising. And the crowd, which by the way...
The crowd was behind him.
By the way, what local unaffiliated karate fight among teenagers brings 750 people into it? What the fuck? Dude, I went to high school basketball games with less people than that. This is a karate tournament.
California was boring in the 80s.
Yeah, but people did nothing. They didn't go to these.
Like, what are we going to do?
Let's go. What event can I go to?
What are we going to do today? Let's go watch these fuckers fight.
I think they mostly were like, where can we smoke pot and do nothing? I didn't think it was like, guys, where can we go see a local bout? But anyway, so there was that. And then the second thing is they say that the kick is indefensible, which nothing's indefensible. But
they prove it's defensible later.
Yeah, exactly.
In the second movie.
Exactly. In the second movie, which I tried rewatching, and it was...
Did you say nothing is indefensible?
Yeah.
I have a few examples.
No.
Sitting somewhere in the late 30s and early 40s.
Okay. I meant like physical, like combat moves.
No karate moves in teenage. Okay, I gotcha.
Gotcha. Yeah, it is.
Okay. I should be very clear.
And like we said earlier, context counts.
Context counts. Right. Yes. Yeah. But also, okay. The second thing is that because his leg wasn't fixed, everybody was focused on his arms because they assumed that he couldn't use his legs. So when he used his legs, it was such a surprise that he was able to. It wasn't like he did the move brilliantly. It was just like he caught them off guard because they didn't expect him to use his legs. So yes, Dave, was the move illegal? Yeah, because he shouldn't have kicked him in the face. He should have kicked him in the chest.
face.
I know, but again, I'm going with the surprise element where everybody was caught by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the new season of Cobra Kai has a rematch because I want to see that.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think he definitely did cheat. I just think it's one of those examples that so many of these 80s movies try to teach is that if you're the little guy, it's okay to knock out the big person. Like the rules are kind of one-sided a little bit. And it's only because everybody in the audience and everybody in that theater or in that martial arts competition wanted him to kick that guy in the face.
Yes. Okay. So I just want to point it out. Like
that's why I was okay.
Jeff's coming in agreement. I'm on this side and John's on this side. So we're officially saying that Johnny should have won the tournament. Which ironically is the way the script was originally written. Well, the first guy they wanted to contacted to write the script wanted him to lose.
Because it's a Rocky. It was Rocky. They were trying to literally recreate Rocky for fucking teenage martial arts.
But went the distance.
But yeah,
you know what?
like so we're gonna say it that Johnny should have won.
I wonder do you think that they did a take where he kicks him in the chest and they were like, "Gosh, it's not cool enough. It's just not landing. It just doesn't look like it would."
Always kicked him in the face.
Something was it
Because
this
by
movie
that,
where
by that, I'm not saying he didn't have it coming, but it's an illegal move, and he should have won.
something? Wait, was
Yeah.
it this movie? Something was happening where the crowd was going so insane. The actual crowd of extras was going so insane during this that I really think they wanted to film a second, like a separate ending. And the crowd was going so wild that they were like, well, this is it. This is how it is. Because the crowd really went insane. The crowd really went crazy. In fact, apparently they let the cast bring their family to be extras in the movie. And Johnny's mom
There were like
was
500
trying to
extras or
explain to
something,
everybody
wasn't
that Johnny's not so bad because all of these extras were yelling against the son. Yeah, there were actually 500 extras. They actually did this back in the day. So Dave, you
no
might
digital people there.
They really filled up the fucking gym for this movie.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You can actually buy a stadium full of people now online. I'm not even kidding. That's a thing now.
Yeah.
You can buy a stadium full of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fucking cheated, and no one cares.
No one cares. Also, the trailer.
Everyone
haven't
cares.
seen
Trust
any
me.
of Cobra Kai.
I'm calling it. Cobra Kai, there's going to be a rematch.
You think Daniel should have done
I
a
have
little
not
bit more
seen that
prep
show
for his
yet.
fights?
Hmm?
No, I haven't seen either. Did you watch it, Dave?
What, Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
Cobra Kai?
I'm in season 1 at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good. It's
You enjoying it?
hell.
I know it's got a big following.
It's good and funny, and yeah, it definitely, like, that would be my recommendation for the end of the episode. Which are we at? Are we done talking about?
I think.
Hey, I want to mention one more thing. You know what this movie made wave for, which I'm so thankful for? Somehow I didn't see Karate Kid when I was a kid, but I did see all 3 of the Three Ninjas movies.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't think they would have existed
Me too.
without Karate Kid.
I have
so I was
seen
so thankful for that. There were a few
I've
like
seen
loose.
exactly
Do you remember that?
zero
You know,
of the
Surf
Three Ninjas
Ninja?
movies.
I watched Surf Ninjas. I
remember
watched
Surf
Beverly Hills
Ninja?
Ninjas. I watched
Yeah.
all of them. Yeah.
All of that shit, dude. I don't think any of it would have existed without them. So I mean, this opened up a
Okay.
whole thing. Do kids still take karate? Karate?
Yeah.
Is that how we're supposed to pronounce it?
Well, now with
Is it?
MMA, it's and MMA there is a push for more self defense styles, not just like bash them up and stuff. I think there's actually another resurgence. Yeah.
One
Because
other
of
thing I do
Cobra
want to
Kai.
move, like
Because of
one thing I
Cobra
do want to put forward again before we leave. You're the best.
You're the best.
I hope those guys are fucking like. I hope they made $1 million off that because it's the most earwormy fucking song ever. And it's funny because Ryan, who we have on here occasionally to co-host, we did a short film years ago about it was a very weird film about a girl who was trying to win a radio competition, and she got this guy to train her, and we did a training montage, and we wanted You're the Best, but we could not fucking afford it.
Right.
So he went and got someone to record something that sounded sort of like it.
Sure.
And we used that instead. But it was supposed to be You're the Best in there.
Not a lot of the songs are memorable. There are a lot of because for an '80s movie, Dirty Dancing, every single song in the movie, but not all of them. But You're the Best, obviously, is the takeaway from this.
That's how good this movie is. It doesn't need the iconic.
I want to say one more thing. Mr. Miyagi, in his words of wisdom that he says, he essentially tells Daniel-san to go ahead and start sleeping with a lot of people because Daniel-san's with him and not at the school dance. Before Mr. Miyagi, I don't know if you know this, he's actually he makes costumes for local community theaters, and he made the shower costume in about 15 minutes. I've seen the shower costume in real life, by the way. That's true. But anyway, he says when Daniel's like, I have you. Why do I need to go to the school dance? And Mr. Miyagi says, to make honey, young bee need young flower. That sounds a lot like, you got to get out there, dude. You got to get in the ring and make some honey. You know what I mean?
That's good advice, man. That's good advice.
It is good advice.
Take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Take your sex seriously.
No sausage fests. No sausage fests.
Make some money.
You're not always going to have Elisabeth Shue's paying attention to you when you don't fucking deserve it.
After Top Gun, everybody was like, right, Ralph Macchio had no chance. Was it Top Gun? Wait.
Cocktail. You're talking about Cocktail.
At your
Is she in Cocktail?
The other Tom Cruise movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it. Sorry.
Well, I enjoyed it. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad, Jeff, you finally watched. Should you have seen it by now, dude? Let's ask the question.
Of course I should have seen it by now. I pretended like I had, but I knew I should have actually sat down and done it.
Think so? Do you feel like how much do you feel like you gained a bunch of experience, or do you feel like this
I'm
was
really
kind of
happy I
exactly
watched
what
it.
you thought it was going to be?
No,
You know
it was
the
better
weird
than-
thing
it was
that
better
happened
than what I
today?
thought it
I started it and I pulled it up on Netflix and there was like Karate Kid 2 and Karate Kid 3 and the next Karate Kid and I'm like, hang on, what the fuck is Karate Kid 3? Have I seen that? I don't know.
There is a third one, yeah.
Is it them? Who is it?
It's yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently the head of the dojo comes back and tries to fuck with them and puts a wedge in between Miyagi and Daniel. And I don't know if I've seen that.
Come on.
I can't remember if I've seen
I remember great.
I remember the second one. The second one was okay, but like they had the drums and shit. Yeah.
Hi, people. Very curious. I'm not sure. I just hope that they got paid. I hope they got paid. All right, it is that time of our episode where we give you some recommendations for the week with what you've been watching. Dave, you just moved. You haven't been seeing a lot, but do you want to recommend anything?
I will still recommend Cobra Kai. Yeah, go for it. Do it. Like it's about to get epic. Apparently.
Awesome, Dave.
Because I'm calling it. There's going to be a rematch.
People fucking loved it. It's good.
It's going to be a rematch because that motherfucker cheated.
Yeah.
I am going to make, and I'm probably going to start doing this more often because I'm in grad school for film and stuff here, and I don't have the same time on my hands to watch a bunch of feature films, but I'm watching a lot more short films, and they are really excellent, and they're harmless. They're usually less than 10 minutes. I'm going to recommend two. In terms of like commitment and time, I'm not asking you to watch 13 hours of a series. These are minutes long.
Good.
Yeah. There's this really excellent one that I saw. It's a documentary by Sean Wang called 3,000 Miles. Very emotional, very powerful. It's available on Vimeo and YouTube, I believe. And another also very powerful one called Laps, Laps, and that is by a woman named Charlotte Wells. Also, I believe, available on Vimeo and YouTube. Both of them are 5-6 minutes long. If you feel like checking out and having a nice little journey, those are really, really excellent.
Nice.
How about you, Jeff?
I rewatched The Hidden Fortress this past week because I have the Criterion.
Dude. Kurosawa.
I was looking up Kurosawa for some reason. I just was in the mood for something epic, and I was like, do I want?
Dude, I'm reading his autobiography right now.
Well, Fortress is considered a what is the words that it's like a minor epic, or it's like a
I think the word is epic.
Well, yeah, but it's not Ron or Seven Samurai, so it's like a smaller scale epic. It's also comedic because this is after he became famous with Seven Samurai and Rashomon. So, and I know you guys know this, but it's like it's sort of Star Wars. Star Wars took a lot of plot, obviously, from it. It's one of those movies that I saw with. Actually watched it with John. We used to live together, the three of us. I watched it with John, and Dave walked in and went, Hidden Fortress. Like a second he walked in, and we were like, boom. Yeah. It's a lot of, if you like the original plot of Star Wars, it's very, very, very similar.
Yeah, it was like Ace Ventura. I'm like, come to me, jungle friends.
It was so good. I really didn't even know if I would make it through the whole thing. I just needed a little bit of it, and I watched the whole thing. So Hidden Fortress.
And you made it through the whole thing because it's just so damn good.
It's so damn good. It's the two. It's like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. It's essentially if R2D2 and C3PO just stayed the leads of the movie because they clearly.
Oh, good call, dude. Yeah.
I mean, they were.
Where'd you watch it? Criterion
Channel. Well, because I thought what they took was the princess in hiding that they were smuggling. I thought that's the Star Wars the plot, but actually Coppola was like, no, it's R2D2 and C3PO are the ones that bring everybody together. So I was like, what if we hang with
fucking
these
film?
Two? Yeah. So it was anyway. Hidden Fortress, Kurosawa.
Good for you, man. Nice watch.
Really fucking random, but I'm glad I did that. Anyway,
great. There's always time for Kurosawa. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for sticking with us for this. I'm really glad I've seen this by now. I hope you have seen it recently, or if not, it's on Netflix. Karate Kid. See you next time, film fans.
Daniel cheated.